So why second-tier platforms? Beyond the fact that the first-tier platform presentation was taken by somebody else, they wanted me to talk about second-tier, and I agreed. And the reason why is because second-tier platforms are much less crowded. The big 3 or 4 or 5, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Flickr, and so forth, are certainly popular, but they're also very, very crowded and noisy. So with a second-tier site, you can most definitely cut through the noise. And you can certainly be a much bigger fish in a much smaller pond. With fewer users, especially corporate, you have a much bigger opportunity to make a presence and be felt and known. So awareness actually would increase. And you can connect with fringe audiences. So you might have fanatics that are deep in a website like Vimeo that have not engaged at all on YouTube because they think it's played out. Second-tier sites tend to be utilized by early adopters or fanatics, fringe elements that could be wonderful audiences for you that are not caught on the main sites. And it doesn't mean you're not on both, but the idea is that you're going to catch these audiences. And there is obviously, for those of you that know a little bit about search engine marketing, there is organic search value because you can optimize your presence in those second-tier sites to show up and appear in your branded search. So if I'm company XYZ, my second-tier social sites may show up in branded terms, and those social profiles, when clicked through, have not only good content, but they typically link back to your homepage or your blog, therefore creating tremendous value in terms of managing your brand online. Of course, there are also new advertising and revenue opportunities, rev share opportunities on Rever and other sites where you get a percentage of ad revenue, or better yet, you can target your audiences based on demographic or psychographic or behavioral profiles and advertise for much less than the top tier sites to reach your audience with new messaging. So that's why second tier. Now let's ask this starting out. Do you have an active social profile on a second tier site? And I consider second tier for this purpose to be anything that is not one of the big 5. LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, MySpace, Flickr, YouTube, those big ones. Anything else? That's what I want to know. So we'll touch certainly on more of those, but before I go into detail, I just wanted to see, based on your current perspective and understanding, it looks like more than half have no presence other than the big 3, which if you look at that, if almost 40% have the big 3 profiles, at least all three of the, say, big 5, but yet a majority do not have any more than that, means to me that there is a tremendous opportunity. It looks like almost 90% have no more than one profile on a second-tier site. So hopefully this presentation will offer a lot of value. So just letting it ramp up here. There's 1 or 2 that came in last minute to say, hey, we've got 2 or 3, which is compelling, and maybe in the Q&A session we can talk a little bit more about that. Let me just check something real quick. Now, I got a question. What are some of the ways to measure the impact of your social media engagements? We will definitely be answering that in the metrics section coming up towards the end of the presentation, but I will be getting to questions as we go through, but primarily feel free to hold yours till the end. So, again, a majority of you are not actively on second-tier sites. So let's talk about what those might be. Second-tier social platform categories. Now, this is not a de facto from Wikipedia categorization, but these are ones that I chose roughly buckets to talk about. Social bookmarking is, I think, a category that is largely ignored. There are some reasons why, but it still can offer tremendous opportunity. We'll go through those. Document sharing. And when I say document, I mean PowerPoints, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PDFs, that sort of thing. Any type of documentation that can be shared quickly can be an excellent marketing opportunity. We'll talk about a few of those platforms. Media sharing. So YouTube is the number 2 most popular search engine on the web, believe it or not. It shows you, in my mind, a lot of people would rather look at videos than do other, like work, for instance. But with media sharing, it's more than just videos. It can be audio files and video and image files as well. So we'll talk about a few of those. And then location-based sharing, some of the newer technologies out there like Foursquare and Gowalla and so forth. We'll talk about that because I believe that local search being a primary intent of most people's search inquiries is a factor, as well as with the rampant adoption of smartphones with GPS-enabled technologies allows you to literally communicate with people on a geocentric level. So we'll talk about that. I think that's going to be the biggest area of growth. Then there's also the least sexy but very powerful niche forums and expert communities. So looking at becoming an expert within your industry on one of those sites can be tremendously impactful. And then industry-specific communities. So there's forums for experts of any type, so it crosses industries. Then there's industry-specific communities, and we'll show you examples of how those are different but similar. And then lastly, creating custom platforms, your own platform for your own community. If you don't like what you see out there, create your own community. So each of those is what we'll talk about today, starting with bookmarking.